Good morning and welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Pflugerville. Today we're talking about, where'd you put my notes? There they are. Okay? The kingdom of heaven is within. John 14:10. Very, very interesting. Would you put it up? Okay? Do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? The words that I say to you, I do not speak on my own, but the Father who dwells in me does his works. The Father within me does his works. So Jesus was explaining his ability to do these wonderful things that we're talking about 2,000 years later. Okay? And I'm asked a lot, do I believe in Jesus? Yes, I believe in Jesus. But I also believe in what he taught us. And what he taught us was the kingdom of heaven is within you, as well as him. And what he did was he had the opportunity to spend the time to manifest that Christ within. So that as a teacher, he was a master teacher, teaching us the spiritual conversation to take us back to the Garden of Eden consciousness. Now, it's very, very interesting. Science is really reaching a point now where they're talking about quantum physics and the quantum world and the quantum universe. And they find that there's an energy everywhere present in the universe. The ancients used to call it the ethers. Okay? And they are starting to realize that we have all of these energies within us. And we transmit things through energy and frequency. And we are receivers of energy and frequency. Sitting right where you are sending a frequency to all of us. Okay? Anybody agree when you walk into a place that isn't comfortable, you don't feel comfortable? I used to hang out in a lot of, they're called bars. And I knew immediately I shouldn't be there, okay, or wherever I was. Now that was 50 years ago, whatever, before Madeline. And the whole idea, and I can remember this, I can remember the feeling it's not right. And I know the first church like this that I walked into, I felt comfortable and was like, I cannot believe that I missed this understanding in all my Christian background. Okay? Unity right now is going through a conversation, are we a Christian church? And it's very, very interesting. You have to understand that the word Christian has certain baggage with it from other churches. The word hell comes in, the word sin comes in, the word, all the different words. And the conversation is taken over by man's belief or man's interpretation rather than a spiritual interpretation. And I don't know why I'm going here, but I wanted to discuss the Father who dwells in me does his work. And he says in other places, it's the kingdom of heaven within. It's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Now the word Father, and I feel led to talk about this, when you go back into the ancient Israelite culture, the father was like a king, if I can use that terminology. In other words, the father, and they were big families. I mean, the families stayed together, and they were run by the stock. They had sheep and they had cattle, and the more family, the bigger the family was, the more exalted the father was because he was at the top of this big pyramid. And if you wanted to open a new business, if you wanted to get married, if you wanted to build a house, whatever you wanted to do, the father had, I don't know, what's called Friday afternoon conferences. And you made a conference with the father, and you went and asked the father for permission. And if you got permission, then the father was expected to fund your whatever you were going to do. Because he had to provide the necessary things to do whatever it is you want to do. Okay? So completely different culture than we're working with in today's world. And so the Father was a metaphor for that energy that makes everything available to us. And so a lot of people miss metaphors. And when we talk about there's an energy for good everywhere in the world. There's an energy, we know that. And science is now getting involved in the quantum physics thing. And they've pretty much proven that whatever you think about, you create. The quantum energy you create from your mind creates your life. And it's a very, very interesting concept. It's a concept that I talk about a lot in the group, but it's also you have the capability of doing that, and we have forgotten that. Now, one of the big issues is that as a child of God, we have been given choice. In other words, if you want to mess things up, you're welcome to do it. Okay? And you have made a choice, and each of the choices we have determines our life. And we have what's called a subconscious part of our mind, which is, it's not prefrontal cortex, it's in the back. And that stores all the information that you have learned in your life. So you create what's called a personality. Anybody familiar with personality? And you have a lifestyle, an outlook on life, and you have a personality that you present to the world. Okay, now personality, the word comes from the word persona, which back in the old Greek were the masks that we put on in their dramas. You know, when they had the Greek dramas, and it was the mask that you put on. So we established a persona, a personality, and we act out of that, and the personality that we distribute or show to the world is thoughts that we have thought and accepted over our lifetime. So we build up this character that we think we are, and that's what we do. Okay? Now it's a tough thing to get in, but that's Jesus' message was, the kingdom of heaven is within. Everything you're looking for is already there. It's the Father's good pleasure. It's that energy within that can give you anything you want once you learn to control your thinking. Okay? Which is the message Jesus talks about. Okay? Now, John, you know, I keep going back to the Bible because I was raised in this. Valerie and I were talking earlier. Anybody know how many different translations of this book there are? It's amazing to me. Okay, and the more I dig into it, the more I know each. When I sit down to talk, you know, for Sunday, get ready, I have 3 Bibles. Okay, sometimes 4. She brought in another one today. Well, it's the 6th or 7th one I've seen.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting. It's the precise parallel New Testament, and it's got, like, if you look up a verse, it's got, I don't know, 2, 4, 8 different translations.
It's amazing. Hey, Matt, I'm going to go back into history. One of the things that caught my attention in the beginning, I'm going to say 40 years ago when I got involved in this crazy stuff. And the thing for me to understand was that the language that was translated from the original Aramaic, the Bible was not written in Greek, it was written, the language was Aramaic, which is what Jesus spoke. So we have to look at the energy that was occurring at that time, and we got to remember that people didn't know writing or reading. Everybody today pretty much could read a stop sign, and you know, you could do things. But back then they had no understanding. So everything was verbal, oral traditions. There were a group of people that learned to write called the scribes, and they were like, I don't know, what do you call them, the lawyers and accountants into this world. They knew all the mysteries, okay, and they recorded things. But the language that Jesus was speaking was very colorful, very romantic, and full of innuendos and metaphors. So the first thing that I ran into was, you must, you know, the word named Jesus Christ. And Christ is from the Greek, it's a Christos, or the enlightened one. So is Jesus the enlightened one. So in John 14 he said, these things I do, ye shall do and even greater things, which is quoted exactly. What he was saying is, you have the ability to become what I am. He wasn't deifying himself. As a matter of fact, those of you that know the Bible, said 3 or 4 times that he corrected people when they called him the Son of God. He said, I am the Son of Man. Okay, now after a while he got tired of people deifying him, and he gave up. Okay? But we haven't deified an individual that became who he was meant to be as a creation. I still go back to the original Genesis 1:27, and God created us in his image. In his image. And his image is what? God is, and in the New Testament it says, God must be worshipped in spirit and in truth. So God's spirit, so what are you? What am I? We are spirit. And we are spirit that has a body to allow us to move around in this physical world. You agree with me so far? And I know some of you have heard this, you're tired of hearing it, but the truth is, I need to hear it over and over and over again, because my thinking goes into the real world. You see, we're living in a physical world, in a world that we have been programmed to adapt to. Anybody agree we stop sign at the time? Okay, we drive on the right-hand side of the road, by the way, here. Okay, anybody ever been in a county, country where they drive on the left side? Confusing, is that? Okay, so why do they do that? Because they've been conditioned to do that. So we are conditioned human beings living in a physical world that you can touch, smell, feel, and we've learned the rules to live in this physical world. We've learned how to be, those of you that are musicians, God bless you, I love you. Okay, you've learned that you do this and this sound comes out. So we all have a state of being and understanding of what life is like. But at the spiritual level, there is a spirit behind us, and that spirit has a different game. He's having fun. How you doing? Good. Now, he's doing exactly what he wants to do. See, there's an inner energy with us that wants to get out and wants to express itself. Anybody agree? A lot of us have words that we want to share, and energy we want to share, something within us that we want to share. RJ does it through his work. Okay? Larry did it through computers for many years, and now it's through music. Okay? B has her Ho'oponopono that she wants to talk about. We all have that inner energy, that inner story that we want to share. Okay? It's called the kingdom of heaven, and that heaven is the spirit within us wishing to be who we are as we were created, which is complete and whole, just as we are. In the songs we were singing, it said, I am whole. And what does whole mean? I'm okay. I'm healthy. I've got enough money to live well. I've got friends. I don't have any enemies. Whatever state of homeostasis, which is everything is good. Okay? And there's the word heaven, it's like we're praying for peace. Anybody agree? What would peace be like? Somebody give me a word. Should it be what I just described?
Tranquility.
Tranquility.
Safety.
Enough for everything. Whole, complete.
Harmony.
Say it again.
Harmony.
Harmony. Abundance. See, abundance, we think abundance is, I can't do that. You're a child of God and can express. Jesus had a golden coin come out of the fish's mouth. Okay, now there's a metaphor there, I'm not going to get involved in that. So that is what he could do, and he said, these things I do, ye shall do, and even greater things. And what has happened to us? We have listened to the world, we are conditioned by the world rather than accepting our divine self. Now, how do we get back to that place where we are one with God, which is what our promise is? And if you look at the different religions, I was thinking about this. Here we talk about getting back to who I am as a child of God is a combination of prayer, okay, which means I'm asking for affirming in a positive way. I'm now rich, well, and happy. Okay, and it goes on and talks about meditation, which is learning to return back to my original self. You see, I believe what's happened is we're so full of conditioning the way things should be that we're overwhelmed, and that pattern has taken over. So it's like for some of us, we've had disease, agreed, and when I complain about it, what do I create with my words? Or what I don't want. So if I'm creating, oh my God, I don't have no money to pay the rent, I'm creating that event in my life, yes? Yes. Because thoughts and words create things. Okay? So, It's all reaffirming of who I am. I'm a child of God, created in the image and the likeness of God. I'm complete and whole, just like we're singing. Okay? We allow prayer work and we encourage prayer work. So all these things are part of that process of what's called returning to the Father. Now, there are other religions. Anybody ever heard of whirling dervishes, which is actually part of it's a sect of Muslim, I think.
Sufi.
Huh? Sufi, yeah.
Sufi.
Sufis. Yeah. So it is, how do they connect? Their whole thing is connecting with God. And if you've ever seen them, they whirl. They literally whirl. Now, if anybody here ever spin long enough that your brain got confused, you lose your balance when you spin. Okay? If anybody here is a dancer, you know that you have to be careful. Okay? So what are they doing? They're using that body to whirling dervishes, and they evidently reach a point where they become one with the consciousness of who we really are. Do you hear the word I changed? It's the same thing. We just use different words for it. Okay? There's words like nirvana. Give me some other words. You guys know.
Completeness, oneness,
What?
completeness.
Completeness.
And heaven. Heaven.
Heaven. See, that's what his heaven is that level of bliss. By the way, when we say the Lord's Prayer, people always say on earth. Folks, we're talking about consciousness, which is a state of being, and so it is in earth, is the original translation, in my humble opinion. It's what? In heaven is that state that we are and we can generate. Anybody familiar with Dallas? Dallas believe the whole thing is so holy you shouldn't even talk about it. Okay? Buddhists and Hindus spend time in meditation, and they talk about becoming one with that energy. So it's all everybody returning to the Father's house, which is the parable of the prodigal son, which is returning to that state of being. Now, what did the Father, in the parable of the Father's return to the Father, what did the Father do? He ran to the Son. So there's an energy that's waiting for us to connect. I gotta look this up. We're having fun. There's an energy in the world. Here's what I'm getting ready to start. We are conditioned by the world around us. Everybody get that? Okay? Where did this go? This is chapter 14, verse 12. Verily, verily, I say to you, he that believeth on me. Now, when Jesus said, believeth on me, or use my name, what he was saying was, do what I'm telling you to do. We make it so complicated, we make it, doesn't it make sense? Just do what I'm telling you to do, which was his teaching. So anyway, then he goes on and said, these things on me, the works that I do, ye shall do also. Greater works than these shall he do, because I got into my Father. Okay? So these things, why would he say that if we didn't have the capability of being that energy and returning to that energy? And what happens to me is people go into instant disbelief. So, anybody here try to change something? Yes?
Yes.
How do you learn to play an instrument?
Play it.
Play it. And you play it not well in the beginning, and the more you play it, the more effective you are. So you become a musician. Anybody ever been in martial arts? What do you do? Over and over and over again. You do the different things. How does a welder become a welder?
Over and over and over.
Practice.
Practice makes
The only way to learn to weld is well. Okay? How do you learn to become a father or a mother? It just happens and you deal with it, right?
It takes lots of practice.
It takes lots of practice. So change is not easy. Okay, so I'm sitting here talking about, and I'm telling you, you're divine. Okay, and the world is telling you, you ain't. And again, I use ain't on purpose just to get through. So it's instant disbelief when we have that conversation. Okay? Because a couple of you are checked out, which is fine. Because the world is programmed to fail, to struggle, to suffer. Anybody agree? Part of my training when I was doing the motivational stuff was you gotta suffer until you learn how to do it. Okay? Bible doesn't say that. Most of the holy scriptures in the world talk about this reconditioning of the mind. And Paul said, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Which is what? Learning a new way of doing things. So, if I'm sitting here telling you that all you have to do is sit in a chair, shut up, and be quiet, and you'll become enlightened, immediate disbelief, yes? Okay, however, what is the plan? Okay, and are we trained to be divine? No, we're trained to not be divine. So, we are sharing here an idea that might overcome all the issues in the world. We talk about it, thousands of people are using this to talk about it, but the real thing is you are what Jesus was, and we are here learning how to do it. The kingdom of heaven is within. It's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Over and over and over again, and even the songs we sing. So it says here, do not believe that I am in the Father. Okay, what happened at this point in time is Jesus had gotten them together, and he knew his time was coming. He knew that he was sooner or later that Jesus was going to do his thing, and that he would be crucified. And he was telling them, I'm not going to be around forever, you're going to have to learn how to do things. And this whole idea came from them saying, no, we can't do it, we need you around. Okay? And so, he's saying, hey, you know what? Do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father in me? The words that I say to you, I do not speak on my own, but I speak through me from the Father. And I'm telling you that you're going to be okay. So it's instant disbelief. So what are we doing today? Anybody familiar with resistance? Anybody familiar with, it's like we have a 6 o'clock in the morning meditation every day. Okay? And you wouldn't believe how many people tell me, oh my God, I can't get up that early. That's called resistance. Now, let me tell you, sometimes I don't want to get up. But it's learning to do what's necessary to change my inner structure to become that which I am capable of doing. And my book tells me that you are capable of being divine. Now, however that looks for you, I can't answer that. Okay? Now, I know I'm getting a little bit out this week. But the truth is, what do we believe? Are we Christian or not? Are we believers that Christ had a message which is true for us? And it's not out there, it's in here. So there isn't anything out there that can do it for me. The only thing that can do it for me is within. And re-establishing my child of Godness, if I can use that terminology. Okay? And hanging around with us long enough, it rubs off, I think. Okay? Okay? Now, have I got things stirred up? See, the key, you either do the work or you don't do the work. It's either reconditioning the mind into a different state of being, or it's staying where we are. And I have found, God bless me, I just had another birthday, and the same old crap keeps happening time after time, because I keep living in the same stuff. Now, I had to use that word on purpose, so I apologize. Okay? Anybody have any mistake?
Hold on. Hold on.
Hold that thought.
I was thinking,
I think it's interesting about, like, and you talk about this, like, what messages are we listening to? Like, which voices are we following? Like, when I think about what's in me, in prayer and meditation, being that connection, that the information that I'm hearing through my intuition is so much more truthful and helpful when I'm listening to that kind of that inner knowing and knowing which choices I need to make based on truth with a capital T rather than media or, you know, others. And so I really like that in me, you know,
It is,
what's
it is.
coming from within me, because then that's my truth,
Yes.
that's specifically designed for me.
Within me. Okay, see, it's already there. The science of dying, if I can use that terminology, okay, they know that there's a certain, very small, like 0.3 of a gram or something, when somebody dies, there's a very small but an incremental weight that changes. Okay? And anybody agree? When you're dead, you're gone. There's no spirit within you. So where's the spirit go? What happens to the spirit? Okay, and these are all master questions that we really don't engage on. But why would I be conscious now, smiling, talking to you, and if something happens, gone, I'm gone. Okay, now we're not going to get involved in past life stuff. I'd love to do it, but we'll get there. So just
So when I chose the Still Small Voice song, it was before you ever talked to me about it. So I basically got my intuition out, went through the list of songs,
Yep.
and this is what came up. And it's, I guess some people call it synchronicity,
Yes.
or I guess you could call it a miracle or whatever, that it fit in so well. So once you get the confirmation that process works, then it's easier to follow it forward.
It's weird when it starts. It's really weird when it comes out. It's strange. And Larry does talk about, in other words, he'll pick a song and it'll be exactly what I want to talk about. Okay? And Maddie and I do that quite a bit. Yes?
I had an experience yesterday visiting a friend who's been very ill with 2 strokes. And I thought a lot about what I was going to say to this dear friend I've known since high school. And the words came, it's okay to let go. You fought the hard fight, but it's okay. And I wasn't sure how that would be taken. But I knew, and I told her, I said, God's telling me this, to share this with you.
Good.
And then I came home and second-guessed myself. And then I got quiet and realized, no. That's
Kingdom of
exactly.
heaven. That's a small
exactly.
voice that we're
That was
talking
the
about.
small voice, and it guided me, and I hope my sharing guides her.
See, and again, if I don't, you have to get quiet to get that back. See, it's the stillness. God speaks in a still, small voice. Okay, now occasionally you have to get hit over the head, but
So one of the interesting things about our prayer chaplain training is
Yes.
that they tell you, like one of the key tenets is that don't worry about what words you use because they transform into what the person needs to hear. And like somebody will come and tell me, you know, like later, you know, as time passes, well, you know, you said this and it really resonated. And I'm like,
yes.
sure, I didn't
But you
say
have
that
no-
doesn't sound like me. But that's the beauty, right? That's that when you're acting from a place of love and you're staying true to your intuition and when that's based in knowledge of oneness and knowledge of divine love, then that energy is transformational. Like you said, you know, the renewing of your mind.
It's interesting. I'm involved in a course right now where they are looking at transformation, and they're actually wiring people up with all these things, and they're asking them to repeat words, just like the Japanese researcher that looked at crystals from words, and love words were pretty nice crystals, but we got into hate and anger, those kind of words, and they became dark. okay? And they're seeing the same thing now on Wired. They're seeing brains change when the language and the conversation changes in an interaction, okay? That's the still small voice working. Now, that's why I'm getting more braver and braver, okay? Because the world has reaching a tipping point. Anybody agree it's chaos out there? And the only way for change to occur is to go through chaos into, people have to get so stirred up that they look at something new, which is changing the thinking. In other words, nobody does anything to me, I do it to myself. So would you agree the world is blaming other people? It's those cotton picking, those Democrats or those Republicans, okay? But yet it's my thinking that's hurting my world, which is the basic spiritual truth we're going to talk about. And we keep creating that from the words that we use, okay? So, and my point is that we're studying Christianity, and Jesus was talking about this stuff 2,000 years ago, okay? And all we have to do is figure out what he was saying in today's language. And so there's a big bridge there that we're working on, okay? And by the way, it's also in the Buddhist, and Hindu, and the other religions. Okay? I've gone over it. So I've done enough, thank you. Anybody have anything else they want to say?